Okay, this phase, the project that I built is the chalk bowl, or as I like to call it, bowl on a stick. I got tired of having my chalk laying around the gym in random places and making a big mess, so I built something to fix that. Figured you might be interested in how to build it too. So here's exactly what I did. I'm gonna break it down really fast and then tell you some kind of tips and tricks, and then it's up to you. I'll leave the plans along in the email with this video. So here's what I did. First, got an old bowl from the kitchen that we weren't using. If you don't have access to an old bowl in the kitchen that you weren't using, you can go to Walmart, get a cheap one of these for like $5, $10, something like that. And it doesn't have to be big, it can be as big as you want it to be. I wanted mine to be a little bit oversized because I didn't want a big cloud of chalk coming out every time I used the bowl. I used some scrap 2x4s that I already had in the shop. You could literally just buy one 8-foot 2x4 if you wanted to, maybe even a 6-foot 2x4. I would probably do 8 just to be safe. I cut this one to 28 inches and I cut two pieces of 28 inches and I screwed them both together. Didn't use any glue for that. And then I cut two 17-inch, because that's what I had available, 17-inch pieces at the bottom here for the feet. Now what I did for the feet that you don't have to do is I actually made a half lap joint here, and you can see this right here. I used my router and I took out half of the material, the same width as the other board on each side. So they kind of made a sandwich in the middle and they sat flush. That's how I got this to be like this. You don't have to do this. You could actually do pocket hole screws and join the 17-inch board with two 6-inch boards, and that would get you pretty much where you want to go. However, you could also just make an X with two boards at the bottom, and on that X, you can make the smaller feet for the board on the bottom and bigger feet for the board on the top. So my feet are all the same size because these are level, but if you had an unlevel surface, you can make longer feet on the higher board and shorter feet on the bottom board, and it would work out. The last thing that I did is I took two offcuts. I already had these laying around in my shop because I do a decent amount of projects around the house, and these were just scrap that were literally in a trash can in my shop. And they were just 45-degree triangles. So you can really easily cut this with a handsaw or a miter saw or a table saw. Just cut little triangles that are 45 degrees on each side and 90 in the middle. And that gives you a 45-degree block or a 90-degree triangle. Sorry, there's a very loud truck going by. It gives you a 90-degree triangle that you can put on both sides to increase the stability. And then I just joined it with screws on the bottom. So I put screws in on the bottom to join the base plate to the upright, and then I used a drill to drill holes and put in some flat bottom screws in the bottom of the bowl and screw it directly into the stand. That's the whole thing. Now that might be a little bit confusing to you since I'm just kind of spitting off at the mouth at this point, but I'm gonna have plans that will detail this exact process. So I'm gonna include plans for the half lap joints just because I think it's a fun joint to practice. It was my first time making this joint and I thought it was really cool. So I'm gonna include plans there. If you need help building this without using a half lap joint, just let me know because I can definitely help you come up with a good solution that will let you build some strong feet at the base without having to do a half lap joint. But anyway, there you go. This is already feeling amazing to use and I don't have to worry about finding my chalk somewhere on the ground where my kids are gonna play with it because they always do. I can have it somewhere where I know it's gonna be. I can take it around the gym wherever I go. If I wanna put chalk by my dumbbells or by my rack, I can move it all around. One last point that I'll make before signing off for this video. My ground is woefully unlevel. And the stall mats that I have installed here on top of the ground make it even more bumpy. So I leveled these feet and it doesn't matter where I put it, there's gonna be a little bit of rock to it just because the floor is very unlevel. You might find that to be true in your case as well. I just used a sander and took down the feet on the base plate until they were close to level. And then if you find the right spot in the floor, it'll always be level. But if you move it somewhere else, it's gonna have a little wobble to it just because the floor is unlevel. So just a word of caution, don't worry too much about leveling things. Get things pretty close and know that if you just kind of turn it the right way, the wobble will generally go away. So this is the chalk stand. You can buy these online for a lot of money. I built mine for pretty much $0 because I already had all the equipment. Hope this is helpful to you. If you need help building this yourself, just let us know in the community. We'll be talking to you very soon.